Thank you so very much for joining in. I'm Arva. I'm part of the marketing team here at Pragmatic TechSoft and genuinely excited to have you all once again with us. So often we think of HR as like a back-end function. So in reality, this is actually where your company culture is actually lived. Your values are felt, where your brand really takes shape, and we end up talking a lot about automating sales, marketing, every particular department, operations. But what happens to the HR? Literally, it's the last thing that's on the list, and yet this is one of the most crucial parts of the business. So it's literally like the glue which holds everything together. Like I mentioned earlier, it's where the culture shapes, where the performance is built, where people who are either feeling connected or not, and then they quietly just start looking elsewhere. So it's not just about hiring or policies. It's literally about how people experience your business every single day, whether it is internally, where it is your internal teams who are involved, or external, which reflects onto your clients. Now, today's session is basically about making HR work smarter and definitely not harder. We're talking about real everyday challenges. And to kick these things off, we have someone who lives and breathes HR every day at Pragmatic TechSoft. She's Meenu. She's our senior HR executive. She's been on the front line handling people, processes, and everything that goes in between. She's going to walk us through what's actually happening on the ground, what's working, and what's really not. And later on, we'll be bringing in Yashas. So he's the senior functional consultant and the business analyst at Pragmatic. He is the guy who literally joins all the dots between HR's everyday challenges and how tech can really solve it. So he's got a strong business background, and with his deep tech knowledge, he'll definitely show us how these HR challenges can be tackled, not just theoretically, but even practically, with systems which actually work and will help scale your organization. So, firstly, Meenu, on to you.
Yeah. Thanks, Sarva, and thanks all for joining this session. So today we'll be discussing about HRMS module, which is built into Odoo 18 with some AI-enabled features. So this is totally built on real-life situations or challenges that I have come across. So we have built in discussion with technical team. So having around 6+ years of experience into HR domain, there are many challenges or situations that I face on a day-to-day basis. So some of the pain points which I would like to discuss, right from hiring till firing, are once we which begins actually from job posting. So once we have to post the job, I have to post job across multiple platforms, which takes up hours, and then again I have to customize it based on different platforms which I post. So it really takes time, and I have to edit it, customize it. And moreover, when it comes to, like, once I post it, I get resumes, so there will be plenty of applications. I have to go through it. I have to understand who is the best candidate for this position and shortlist the right one, right? So I'm pretty sure you must all be having the same issues in your organization as well. When we get the resumes, we have to shortlist. It's very time consuming, and it's exhausting as well, because our time is actually going into that process only. And once we get the perfect resume, we have to schedule the interviews, and for to schedule the interview, you have a couple of other platforms like Zoom, this Teams, like Google Meet and all. So we have to choose which platform we have to select to schedule the interview. That again is a tedious process and time consuming one. And maybe some interviews could be even offline as well. So it is very tough to schedule all this into one single platform, and it's really time consuming. And once we select the perfect candidate, then comes the offers, like the stage where we offer the candidate, and then it is actually back and forth. We have calls, emails, negotiations, and then just finalizing the candidate is just like it's like a marathon only. And finally, when the candidate is in the company, we have other process like setting up the asset for the candidate. We have to also there will be a lot of onboarding miss actually. Like, there is no clarity on who is going to welcome the new joinee, who is going to assign them their task. And it is like their day actually finishes off in just sitting idle and totally disengaged. This happens in almost all the organization. Even if you have worked into some organization, or if you are the part of some organization, you must have also seen the same issue in your organization as well. I'm pretty sure on that. So I have an experience into two companies, so I have also seen this in them, and even my colleagues or my friends who has worked into other companies, they have also informed me the same thing. And like after this onboarding is done, there comes another issue, like regarding the training, like who is going to take the training, or what module, or what like what pattern they're going to follow. Some will be good into front end, some will be good into back end. So how we can actually plan the training so that it is beneficial for them, and it is not making them, like it is not having a monotonous pattern where the whole group is getting a single training, but instead based on their requirement they are getting the training. So this is again another hurdle which we face. And moving ahead, there is another issue which comes like on this process is the employee engagement activities. Like after all this process, hardly the HR gets time to find some like they won't be having any bandwidth to actually find time for even engagement activities as well. And so this is really tiresome. And like moving ahead, like we may also have some issues regarding the complaints, like employees are not sure what rules they have to follow, what policies they have to follow. There will be no like handbook given to them, even when like how their performance is getting tracked. Like no records will be kept. So in order to rectify or to solve all this, we have brought out the like one stop solution for all of this. And we are going to propose that system today. So Yashas will be taking it ahead, and he'll be discussing more on this. So as we have time limitation, today we'll be covering almost 5 to 6 points, and in the next upcoming webinar we'll be discussing the rest of the portions, like this payroll compliances and exit part will be covered in the next upcoming webinar. Okay, so Yashas, over to you. Yashas, I think you are on mute.
Great. Yeah. I'm audible now, right?
Yes, you are.
Yes. Great. Yeah. So, welcome everyone. Welcome on board Pragmatic. A very good evening and very good morning based on your time zones. I'm Yashas, and we bring you a new webinar this time with HR. Our senior HR in place, where the whole crux of the webinar, or the very motive for us to do these webinars, is to take up a problem in the industry, in an organization, and think about how to solve it, whether we have already built a couple of solutions, or whether we want to build that solution. So we want to throw some light upon what exactly this problem is, how important this problem is, and how are we going to solve it. So that's what keeps our hunger always to solve something new, to give you some new solutions where there are existing problems, and how smarter we can go about it. So today the topic, as Minu rightly explained, as an HR, what all the challenges that they face. And in fact, she also explained that because HR is a very vast subject, starting from hire to fire, it also involves statutory aspects, accounting, with respect to payroll and all the other things. There are so much of documentation handled, event management. There is CSR activities. There are so many things that comes under HR, maintaining all the employee details, the data, and all these aspects. So we have split this into two aspects, two webinars, in fact. So the first portion over here today, I'm going to explain you how the technology, that is from an ERP perspective, ERP tool, what are the new ERP tools, or smart ERP tools, or smart methods that can help, or that can make life easy for an HR. What are the things that have come up with new AI tools and all that stuff. So we are going to stick mainly into how the onboarding can be helped out, how the CSR activities can be put out, how the resume, it could be the resume trackers, how I publish the website, this in job postings, and all these things will be taken up. In our next webinar, we'll jump into, that is the other webinar, where we'll be putting up mostly into the accounting aspects of how statutory aspects are linked into HR, how roles can be generated automatically, how it can be done, and all these aspects, like start mostly into the uh, monetary aspect related to accounting stuff. So let me start. So the agenda for today is basically, as I said, uh, is the we usually ask this question in every webinar. So today also we are going to start with the question itself: is the HR department the more overlooked? Is becoming the most overlooked investment? Is the management neglecting it, or is it because it's people management that every other department generates revenue and HR doesn't? Is it looked into that way, or how important is the HR department? Is what we are gonna, what we are gonna answer today, and then we are gonna look into what is the need for smarter HR operations. Why is it? Why there is a need to for a HR department to become more smarter, more intelligent, more efficient? And then we are going to say, or that already explained, we are also going to see what are the challenges faced by the HR teams all across the globe. We have a couple of statistics, we have a couple of points which we put out over here, so we are going to explain that. And finally we are going to come and check what are the different solutions that are available, how smart they are, how intelligent they are, with the new age AI, how easy it is now to have things on board. That is how to make most of the things easier for a HR, how HR systems to be more smart. And then we are going to specifically look into the components of recruitment and hiring. What are the new ways? What are the challenges? Onboarding and orientation. Once employee is onboarded, as Minu rightly mentioned, there is something called as a buddy system. How their progress can be tracked, which person is allocated to which employee, and when the an employee is onboarded, definitely there will be a training and development in the initial stages. How those things can be tracked, and then over the period of time there will be performance management, and then the regular flow, perennial flow will be the employee engagement and retention. So each one of these topics, what are the different methods, what are the challenges, what are the smart ways, we are going to see. And finally we're going to see how AI is going to impact all these aspects with a couple of use cases. So this is the overall agenda. So let's jump into the first question. That's the biggest question we want to address, the elephant in the room, which is most importantly, that is HR is the heart of your business. That is, well, I mean, in Indian scenarios, HR is treated, he or she is considered as the mother of the organization, where the entire management drives the whole force. But to keep that, Arva mentioned very rightly, that's a term called glue, to keep the whole team intact and to make sure each and every person works in sync. It could be from various departments, because for HR, all departments are in one team. It could be purchase team, it could be accounting team, it could be sales team, it could be marketing team. But for HR, the whole organization is one, because they have to consider even the management along with the employees. So everyone put together is HR team. So the statement goes in like, where if you have a strong HR team, then the whole organization itself is going to become strong, because the HR is going to bring a very good people, very good resources. Because at any point of time, employees are considered as the assets of the company. It's how much our revenue we might generate, how much our good marketing brand we might have, but it's all because the team is being put together, the team is being maintained, retained, they are motivated by the HR team. So that is what is the most important thing. So but then how easy is the life of a HR, like when it comes to decision making, when it comes to reporting, when it comes to effective this thing, knowledge sharing, informative this thing, how easy it is for them. For example, if the management asks, can you please list us how many people have to be put out for the appraisal in the next month? Literally, the HR has to go through all the documents. When is the next this thing appraisal for each one of them? It takes days together for them to accumulate this data. But what if system can clearly give you a dashboard where it says, the moment you open the system, it says these many people are awaiting appraisals in the month of October, these many people are awaiting the appraisal in the month of March. So because it depends on, some companies have their standard practices of once in a year or twice in a year, some companies follow as and when the employees join. So these are all a couple of examples. So how easy it is, and why is it not addressed? So that's the most important thing. So to answer that, again, we put out a couple of statistics where we have got to know that 85% of SMEs report that HR inefficiencies are there in their organizations. That is, basically they are overloaded, or they'll have multiple systems. Like for example, for payroll there will be a separate system, for maintaining employee data there will be a separate system, for attendance there will be a separate system, for all the appraisals, the surveys, that is to have the performance management review, they'll have a separate system. Most of these systems can be even manual work as well. So because of which, the one, I mean, and usually also the HR staff will be only few people where they have to maintain large organizations. So they'll have less number of people to handle most of these things, and that too with manual systems. So that's the reason many of them think that it's more inefficient. It's one of the most inefficient department. And then again, 40% of the this thing. The overall market feels that 40% of HR's time is wasted on admin tasks. That is maintaining with the management and people management with the employees and the management, or it could be with respect to getting the facilities done or something like that, rather than looking into how I can improvise. If I being an HR, how I can improvise the consistency of a particular employee, or how I make the environment more conducive with respect to giving them more trainings, retaining more staff, and all these aspects. So the question is, what is stopping again HR from being the most performing department? So these are the couple of questions that we have, and we want to check this. These are the things which we want to find solutions for, answers for. So again, a question: what is is your system, HR system, holding you back? If at all we have system in place, like for example, as I said, multi-system, distributed system, is it holding the HR team back, or can we have new systems where everything can be centralized? So the challenges that we want to address today is what are the individual things, that is individual areas which we can look into, and what are the challenges over there. Like for example, the most important challenges would be the talent shortages, which is like the HR finds it difficult to have very good talent with new projects, or with the respect to, it could be even in a manufacturing or a trading industry, the skills with the new generations and with the education system and with all these things, there is talent shortage, and that means to say that there is knowledge shortage, skill shortage, and then there is poor retention. That is basically because you know how the market is. Like for example, any employee would definitely make a move for a better opportunity, for a better monetary aspects, and for a better way of living to another company, or for even for it's a good challenging environment, so people will move on. So the HR also should make the one of the key important aspect for a HR is also to make sure the organization which they are working in is up to the mark with all these aspects. They have good conducive environment, they pay well, they have the very good work life balance, they make the employee have a good conducive environment. And the next most important challenge the HRs are facing in this very right moment is after COVID, especially. There is this very wide concept that came into place is the remote working. And also there is now, after all these things, after 5 years from COVID, now there is the hybrid model which is going on. So with this remote and hybrid, how do I monitor? How does an HR monitor the work of this thing? Monitor in the sense it's not micromanagement, but still, how do I get the best out of my people? It also could be many people, many employees. For example, if you take me as an example, I would love to work from an office environment, at least have an hybrid environment rather than remote, because it allows me to speak to my team. Have a good this thing interaction. We can scribble on the boards. We can discuss. We can have a war room kind of a situation where we want to brainstorm. But when we are working from home, that's a completely different scenario. So tracking, the very mindset of the hybrid and remote environment is completely different from the office environment. How to get the most out of each and every employee, how to make sure the employee is in sync with the office environment, if at all there is an office or something like that. So it depends. And with respect to industries like manufacturing or trading industries where the factories are there, how do I make sure the whole environment is conducive even for operators to the high level management? So all these things, the management making sure their work is good, the work is managed along with all the aspects, is another challenge. And then disengagement and burnout. The most important thing is my employee feeling disconnected because of multiple reasons? It could be a lack of other activities at the office, other activities in the sense like to keep the work-life balance. There can be some CSR activities, there can be fun activities at place, there can be events put out so that where they can learn. How are they upskilling? If at all these are not done, then the employee feels definitely disengaged. And with more, and also HR needs to check whether the particular person or a particular resource is overburdened. Is a particular employee overutilized or underutilized? So all these things becomes factor. And to know these things, there are ways to, HR cannot speak to 100 employees each and every day or each and every month, so that to get to know that. So there needs to be systems in place. So this is one of the challenges that the HR faces. And then there is the compliance. The biggest thing about also an HR is they also need to be aware about all the statutory and the laws. That is basically the labor laws, the local labor laws of each and every region, and then how the new laws affect the payroll and all the other aspects. So it could be working times, that too based on genders, because there are many countries, many offices, many environments where it depends on gender, whether if they are women, they are allowed only for a certain time. If they are men, they are allowed only on a certain time. Specific holidays to be given for men and women, and all these things are there with different religions in place. So HRs, the very this thing nature of their work itself is challenging, and it's very diversified. So all these things poses as a very big challenge for them. And if there is not a unified system or a centralized data structure, that will be much more difficult for them to handle the everyday tasks. So bringing that to the present thing with respect to emails and spreadsheets aren't built for today's problems. That is usually, as I said, the distributed systems where there are multiple systems in place and many are manual systems in place. It will be a very challenging day every day for as a HR. So uh, again, a question to be asked: what if your HR worked as hard as your best employee? What would change? What change would it bring to the organization? Again, it's not hard working in the sense just picking up all the manual documents, getting it, putting up interviews, and then getting them onboarded or making the F&F cleared and all these things. How effective are they working? Can HR people make effective decisions in time? How much of their manual work has reduced? How much of their reporting things, that is how much of their manual efforts with respect to reporting or decision making has reduced, and how efficient are they able to take decisions? This is what we want to address. So with all these challenges explained, and this thing smart HR system should be, now we will see what should be, what are we defining as a smart system. With We explained all the challenges. What we are this thing is, the challenges that you saw and also the legacy systems will be disconnected, time consuming, and error prone. When I say disconnected, it's distributed systems. That is, for payroll there will be a separate system, for employee management there will be a separate system, for all the appraisals and the surveys to be given, the exams to be conducted, the trainings to be conducted will be a separate system. All the CSR activities, the events, the management thing, that will be on a separate system. Imagine collaborating all these things. And with working with each of this, there is so much of manual documentation, there is so much of data redundancy, becomes error prone, and it takes a lot of time. But what are we proposing, or what are we looking at the before and after scenario is a centralized system where all these things can be put into one system. There are very good ERPs in place, which we are also going to speak about. The one thing which we are going to mention is Odoo for now for our webinar. Intelligent systems, centralized systems, where we are also going to mention a couple of things. That is our solutions where we have introduced integrated AI tools where it makes the whole system more intelligent and empowering. So let's look into that. We'll address one task at a time, and we'll see how best we can make use of the systems. So we are going to put it up like a blueprint for you, one after the other, starting from the recruiting to the firing. Hire to fire is what we are going to say. So let's look into each one step at a time. So let's start with recruiting. The first thing is, you know how important it is to recruit new resources, and how difficult it is to find new resources. So what if again the question is, what if we could cut the hiring time by 50% but never lose the top talent again? So this is like putting up a challenge, and what all we can achieve through that. That is, how can we achieve this? Most importantly, first thing is, it goes with workforce planning, where we have to put out what are the skills that I need, how am I going to put this into the system, and then how am I going to make sure that that new project comes up, of that the team plans uh, their things so well. They have a workforce planning in place. They have looking at, I need two more employees probably by the end of next 6 months. I am planning to have scalable this thing to my, of my department, so that I want to take up, I give a projection of taking up more projects, or expanding manufacturing workforce. So this is kind of a planning where this has to be put out in the system, not just in the in sheets or in multiple departments, because as I said, HR will be looking at all the departments at once. So the skill force management or the skill based analysis becomes very important in a centralized system. Then comes the job posting, as Minu rightly explained. There are so many platforms outside it, starting from our websites, that is the company's websites. We have just to give as an example, LinkedIn is very popular, the Glassdoor, there are Indeed, there is so many other aspects, Stepstone, to give you this thing. So if I have to post each and every this thing into platform, then we'll have to literally make separate templates for that. We have to have this thing that is integrations with them, and then we have to do all the manual work. But what if a centralized system is there where I have my job descriptions and everything's in one place, and I have the integrators, that is all the integrators, third party integrators in place, and if I want to post this particular job listing, it takes into all these platforms at once, instead of we doing all the email work and manually writing up JDs, matching individual integrators. So this is another place where we are looking at a centralized system. Again, I'm going to explain this much in detail. We are going to put out what all things can be done. And then the applicant tracking system. Let's say that we had the workforce planning. We got to know that, okay, this is my requirement for the next 6 months or 1 year. So I prepared the JDs. We made sure it's in the central system, and then we posted into multiple things. Now I got few resumes. What next? If I have 100 resumes, my HR team literally have to go through each and every resume manually, even 2-3 pages. It's going to take a lot of time of the HR, and going through the resumes might make their it becomes a redundant job. They might skip us. So instead of that, I don't want to lose the talent as well. But at the same time, I don't want to manually sit and read each and every resume. So there are ATS systems, that is applicant tracking systems, in place. But are they integrated to my system? Because even the ATS will be a third party system where if I have a system in place where I have all my these things, what if I just feed a resume and it immediately says that this is a skill set, you have to go, you can go ahead with it, or you don't have to go ahead with it? Immediately it will give me the results with proper reasons. So we'll show all these things. What if we can have, the question is, what if we can have a centralized management with application tracking system, like AI based tools integrated? Next is evaluation and shortlisting, which I already mentioned. Without any bias or without any this thing, that is with proper notes and reasons, it should clearly tell me that why this particular candidate is suitable, why not. And then next, if once the thing is done, we can put out all the this thing, that is basically we can have multiple levels of interviews. We can have survey forms, which is in Odoo itself, and we can automate all these aspects, or we can digitalize all these aspects so that all these are centralized. And then when it comes to offer management, how well if we can, instead of printing it and then sending it, what if we can have all the email configurations in place so that you don't have to type an email again? As and when the employee is offered, that is the management has decided and the HR has decided to provide an offer, they can simply automate it in such a way that, or they can simply digitalize in such a way that the click of a button or a couple of processes will make sure the offer is prepared in the system itself, and it is sent to the employee. And if the employee accepts it and acknowledgements, it's back into the system, centralized system. So all these things has to be put out in place with necessary log notes and other aspects, where they say if the employee asks for any negotiation or anything, it will be recorded in place, so that even going further down the line, once the employee is onboarded, or if the employee rejects it, a proper reasoning, legitimate reasoning should be available, not in sheets, not in an Excel, but it should be available in the system as a centralized data for references. Then comes the, as I said, the background check, and the one which I mentioned is the automated document collection and e-signatures, where the employee accepts the thing, and they can be provided with a tool, or they can be provided with a virtual login where they can simply put out all their documents, which will come and sit back into our centralized system, rather than they scanning it and they putting up as a PDF and again emailing it. We have to download it and putting up in our system. We can make sure that they can quickly have a login, and they can attach all the documents, which will again come back and sit into our central repository. So all these things are possible. All these things are something which we want to address. So we'll go in depth in with a couple of things, what we have done and what are the key solutions that we can propose. So interview scheduling is something which Minu also mentioned earlier, where one of the challenging aspects is there are a lot of platforms. there is Google. I'm sorry. There is Google Meet. There is Zoom. There is Microsoft Teams, and then now with Odoo, we can even have audio and visual these things that is automated call scheduled with Odoo itself. So with all these in place, it would be a challenging and manual task to have in separate. That is, basically distributed systems where I have to put out a Google Meet separately, Zoom meeting separately, or a Microsoft Teams meeting separately. But what if I have within Odoo, where for a particular prospect, I call them as a prospect or a candidate. They are not a employee yet. So we have their profile. We check with them what is their preferred method of having the meeting, and based on that, we can simply just have these integrations in Odoo itself or in the centralized platform itself, where with the click of a button, one of these channels are chosen and a meeting is scheduled with Odoo's calendar in place. With it can be again integrated with Google Calendar or Microsoft Outlook Calendar, so that the candidate as well as our system both are in place. We also get the notifications as and when required. So this will reduce the back and forth communication, and it will also increase the efficiency both for recruiters and also for candidates, because they'll be waiting for our email and all these things. Instead of that, if we can schedule everything over through a centralized platform, it will be easy for us to also monitor which if I just open the calendar, which candidates I have at one place, I'll get it. And what is the medium of the interview? It can be any of these mediums. Giving you a statistics, why is this important? We have found out based on our research that every cost per hire, at least with the global market, it costs $4,000. That's huge. And also it takes 42 days to fill one particular employee, at least in a very medium scale and large scale organizations, where there will be multiple rounds of interview. And from turning out to be a candidate to become an employee, it takes 42 days in average. So that's a lot, in fact. And imagine the continuous process that the HR has to go through with multiple candidates. It's not just one. So with centralized processes, we want to achieve these costs to be less, and the turnaround time, that is the 42 days, to be less. So that's the overall agenda of this this webinar, and also the whole knowledge sharing session. So as I said, and the big question again that we ask is, what if your new hires arrive fully prepped on day one itself, rather than having no idea and then entering on the day one to office like aliens? Instead, they could be like very prepped, and they get to know what is happening, what is this company is all about. We share them the details from our system itself, rather than sending up emails and all these things, so that they come very well aware of where am I walking into, how is going to be my work life, what's going to be my day one, whom am I going to meet on day one, who's going to be my buddy. I will tell you what the buddy system is. So before going to the next thing, I quickly want to show one of our AI tool, which Minu herself has got developed. This is basically a ATS resume checker we have developed with in integration with Odoo. Just a second, I'll play the video. So where you can see a Google API key will be put up, and we have put out a separate recruitment thing. Over here, we are going to put out a job description, and we are going to upload an employee's profile. And immediately it hardly took 5 seconds. You can see over here where it will match the particular employee's keywords and the whole resume, and it will tell us why it was a match or why it wasn't a match, and what are the reasons. Why did the ATS system or the AI system felt that, or why did the ATS system made sure that this was a 100% match, or why did it feel that it's a 0% match, or any percentage in between? Because of a lot of other aspects, where they would have put out metrics. They would have matched each and every keyword, the number of experiences, the specific skills, and also the languages that they speak, where are they from. So there can be various aspects. Are they looking for hybrid, are they looking for remote, full-time, all these aspects. So based on these aspects is what we call as the keyword. Based on these keywords, the ATS will immediately tell whether I can hire this guy, or he is not a good candidate, he or she is not a good candidate. So this is one of the example that we have already done. So imagine, instead of spending 2 to 3 minutes of time, we can get the result within 20 to 30 seconds. That's like almost 10 times the time frame getting reduced of a HR. So this is where the efficiency comes up. So they don't have to go manually read each and everything. There might be documents missing, all these aspects. They have to take a printout, or they have to literally go through the entire screen. Read it over the screen. Rather than that, if the system can do the job for them, that will be that's the best solution. And then the next thing, one of the next solutions that we want to put out is during the onboarding and orientation. So what if your the emails, that is the welcome emails or the next documentation with respect to induction programs, all this can be automated with the centralized system. And also any company would definitely provide assets to their employee. That is, it could be starting from the smallest of ID cards to stationery to laptops and whatnot. It could be uniforms, in fact, sometimes in manufacturing and trading industries and all the other aspects. With IT, it comes with all the gadgets and stuff. So it could be even say, for salespeople and marketing team, good systems and good phones and all these stuff. So all these has to be tracked. Which employee has been given what is the serial number of it, how to use it, because different systems have different things. Instead of the employee doing on their own, like do it yourself project, understanding what system it is, how do we go about it, what are the things, what if everything is available in the system, they can just go through it as a e-learning course. That is, I have onboarded today, these are the things which will be available for me, these are the things that is given to me, I acknowledge it, and this is how I need to use it. For example, they might have to report it every once in a month or once in 2 months or something like that. All these information, instead of an induction program manually happening, a short introduction with the HR and the team, and then the system it does the job for the HR. That is, it has a presentation, it has all the details of the assets, it can tell who is what is the organization structure in the whole team, that is who reports to whom, get to know the team members, everything in the system available. So this is a smart way of putting it up. Again, as I said, the handbooks, the e-signature, and all the legal documents available in the system rather than having everything manual. Then one most important thing which I mentioned earlier was the buddy system. Most of you know that a buddy system is like basically to make sure the employee feels not alienistic, or feel it very friendly and conducive atmosphere. Usually HR allocates them with a resource who is very experienced and also who is working in the same domain. For example, if someone is working with respect to marketing, they'll allocate a senior marketing resource. If someone is working with respect to development, someone HR will allocate the new employee with the development resource to make sure the new employee gets a buddy, and also they don't feel disconnected from day one. Rather, they feel that it's their own team. It's as if they walk into their friend zone. At least in the first couple of days, so that they get very accustomed to the team and accustomed to the culture of the organization. Where is what? For example, it could be starting from where is the stationery available, where is the meeting rooms, where are the other desks, where are the employees sitting, where is the cafeteria, and what are the meeting times, how well is the things organized, are there any events going on, which are the team members where we have to directly interact, and all these aspects, and who is the go-to guy for any other work to be done with respect to the work getting done with respect to, it could be signatures or it could be any other aspect. So getting to know all this, instead of HR speaking to each and every employee, a team member, which is also called as buddy, can be assigned for each and every employee. And this can also be tracked within the system. That is, system will have, there will be one employee assigned, that already an in-house resource will be assigned to an employee, and they'll be given specific task. For example, onboarding. Once the onboarding is done, basically you have to make sure this new employee meets the couple of people. They have to make sure they train with the new concepts, or they train with all the other things which is already in place. They have to showcase them a couple of functionalities and all these stuff. If at all it's a manufacturing entity, they can even make sure there is a small task created in the system where it's been assigned to the buddy, where for the buddy the employee will be assigned, and they have to show how the process works. It could be a lathe machine operation, or it could be anything like a training kind of a thing. So all this is again tracked for the internal employee as part of the system, not just as part of the thing. And this can also be part of the KRIs and KPIs for the employee, so that how well they are making sure the new people coming on board, how well they are making sure they keep the environment conducive, and all these things. So as I said, one again statistics that we found is 82% feel that, the retention is improved with companies which have very strong onboarding. So that's the most important thing. We want to answer a question is, what really happens when people feel valued from day one? Simple answer: they'll be retained for a longer time. So they'll feel happy if I'm welcomed by everyone with a good team, with a good environment, and that's when we would definitely not want to move out. So we feel home. I mean, home in the sense we feel good. We feel challenged in the work environment to work more, to achieve more. So that's what is the most important thing that a HR has to achieve, and we are looking at things which can help the HR team to get this done. Then comes the training and development, where the seniors or the other team members, there can be a separate training team, and this can also be put out in the system. That is, with respect to Odoo as the platform, we have the e-learning platforms, we have the knowledge module, where all the aspects of training can be uploaded over there. It could be PDFs, it could be PowerPoint presentations, where this team members can go through it. Even the video recordings, audio recordings, all can be available, so that at any point of time the employees can refer to that and they can have a better knowledge rather than depending on physical sessions. And also this can help for their development with respect to promotions and internal growth. And most importantly, with the new things, I mean, every organization will be depending on having certifications in place to make sure the global standards are met with all the employees. The skills are taken up to the next level. So to do that, even the certification programs, the training for them, all these things can be put out in the system itself. That is integrated in the system, wherein the employees can access these aspects. As I said, going further, this will be like, I mean, we can take the automated feedback and all the this thing, that is basically appraisals, and then the training plans, not just the templates. We can even track the progress, how well the particular employee is taking up, in what stage are they, how many tests they have taken, how well is their scores, have they taken up all the tests, how many certifications they have completed. Again, not physically. I mean, the HR need not check anything by going through the documents manually, but they can get all these things in the system itself. As I said, LinkedIn comes up. I mean, LinkedIn gives us this information where 94% of the employees would stay longer at companies that invest in learning. That is basically, if the company invests on upbringing the skills, that is improvising the skill set of an employee, because employees, and I mentioned this in the first moment itself, any employee is an asset for an organization. Yes, the customers are the ones who purchases and increases the revenue and everything, but if my employee is not happy, I cannot retain my customers, and at the end of the day my business collapses. So whoever or whichever organization invest more into upgrading the skills of their employees would definitely make sure, I mean, the employees will definitely stay there and make the company grow further. So the question again, how would your business change if upskilling became automatic? That's the thing which we're discussing. How well we can automate these processes. Can training plans can be automated? Can the training equipments or the training materials can be uploaded in the system where we have centralized data? So all these things we address. Going further, as I said, with respect to appraisals and reports, I mentioned this earlier also. This we have built in Odoo, where if I have 100 employees and I have different periods of this thing, that is appraisals to be done. It could be monetary appraisal or it could be the performance review as well. So all these things, how well, if the system can itself immediately tell the HR, or whenever they it gives an information that these many employees are done in a particular month, this has to be started, and this is an appraisal already has been sent, who's on kept on hold, and all these aspects. And it will clearly tell whose skill set is what, instead of we getting to know, okay, we hired them this particular resource for a so and so skill set, and now where are they, how many trainings did they attend, how many certifications did they achieve. I literally have to go and ask the particular person for an updated resume, in fact. Rather than that, if the the HR can get to know from the system itself that this is the skill set that they have upgraded, that will be a much better thing to take decisions or to make to even plan our projects, to even plan our scalability of an organization. That will be the most important aspect. So next is with respect to performance management, the biggest thing, which is like the moment I mentioned about appraisals and performance reviews, this gives a small chill into any particular employee. How much it's going to be, what is it going to be, what is going to be my next role, which team I'm going to work on, which project I'm going to work on, how is going to be my performance review, what is in plan with the whole thing. So in most of the companies, it's like kind of a fear, rather than it's instead of having it as a very good experience. So to make sure it is it's an overall experience. What we are proposing is to have all these aspects of performance reviews within the system itself, where the performance management is an overall task done from the employee perspective, from the management perspective, and from the team perspective. Like that is setting up a system, that is setting up a proper goal, that is these are all the things, KRIs and KPIs, that has to be achieved for every particular employee based on their skill set. And then having reviews, having surveys, having dashboards, and having KPIs in real time. That is, we can have surveys among all the team members and the managers as well, that is within the system itself, that they can rate, instead of having papers and instead of going with what should be the this thing, giving them handheld papers where they have to literally check the employee and then put out the scores, and then again bringing back this, accumulating all these and taking decisions. What if we have the surveys within the system itself? So I'm going to show that in the next couple of slides. And then we have the benchmark set, that is the salary benchmarks, and then the performance benchmarks. This is how we are planning. This is how much is the bracket that is already been set by the management for a particular skill set, for a particular period of, experience person. So all this, if it is available in the system itself, it's going to be the easiest task for HR to take a decision. So this is again an example which I mentioned, a 360-degree feedback which can be put out in the system itself. That is, we don't have to put out manual task where we call it as a 360-degree feedback. For a particular employee, we can set it and we can give this survey form to the respective team members and even to the management. And they can put out the reasons whether they need improvement, meets expectations, exceeds expectations, and why is this, why they have given this rating. This is going to stay completely anonymous from the employee perspective, but from the management perspective, they get to know who is rating for what reasons, for which employee, so that they can get to know the relationship between the team members, how well is the team prospering, how well they are giving us the output, and all these aspects. And again, few statistics. 14% of overall employees find the traditional reviews helpful. That is basically the HR putting up a time frame that yes, next week or next month is going to be your improvement. The appraisals or the performance review, and then they come up with tons of sheets from various departments or various people. They have rated so and so. They have to accumulate everything. Then they have to put out one sheet, and then they have to give a common feedback. Rather than that, what if the system can speak for itself with all these inputs, and the HR can take decisions based on that? Digitalized, centralized data is what we are looking at. And the last and most important thing is also about the employee engagement and retention. We saw how onboarding, that is starting from the hiring to onboarding and then training and appraisals and everything, to make sure the employee is retained and he's engaged, he or she is engaged in the team. The HR also has to make sure there are a lot of events happening, trainings happening, CSR activities happening. But again, are these available in the system? Because there is a lot of budgets involved. We have to take approvals for that. When is it going to be done? What is the patterns that they're going to be done? Who are the teams who are going to be participating? Everything mostly is done manual. But what if all these can be put out internally in the system? A centralized place where we have the surveys in place. That is, we have the recognitions, we have the awards, all these things, where the CSR activities are also put out. Where the work-life balance is taken care of. We have hackathons, we have team outings, talent and open mic sessions, we have the fun days and the birthdays. Again, I'm mentioning these within the system. What do I mean within the system? This can be created as a project for a HR. That is, for example, one of the hackathon. Then we can take it up for approval with the management, again within the system. And then we have a budget for this, number of resources for this. The budget can be approved by the finance team, how much budget I'm going to spend for this. And then we take up with who does what task, who's going to organize with the food, who's going to organize with the travel, who's going to organize the venue. We can put out all these tasks, and then this will be put out as an event where we can have free or paid tickets also, which can again be bought out within the system itself. And then how many attendees are there, and how did the event happen? Publish this in our website. And then once all this is done, the revenue put in together and the event actually happening on that particular day. Once all this is done, how much was the total budget that we put out? How much was the actual things that we spent, or what was the gains? And how well did this event go based on the surveys? We can have a survey, and then we can record all these things. All these aspects which I mentioned can be put out within the system itself, not done anything outside the system, that is outside Odoo system. We can do it within Odoo with complete automations. So these are all things which will improve, or which will make the life of an HR more efficient. So One of the most important thing, which was a surprising fact for me also, that the company feels that, or the company has understood that, but a particular employees, this thing that is a new hire basically will cost 6 to 9 months of a turnover of the company. Especially with respect to medium and senior positions, that is the middle management and senior positions, each and every hire will cost 6 to 9 months of a company's turnover. That's a huge cost. So that's the reason why we say decision making for a HR is the most important, and HR functions are the most important ones. And again, the question, what if people stop quitting rather than they switch to thriving, that is thrive better, getting into the organization better, getting to know the team better, getting more profitable output, so that the whole organization grows along with the individual. So that's the overall goal that we want to achieve. So with all this, again, HR isn't just digitized with all these things. I am proposing to make it intelligent. AI driven HR use cases is what we mentioned to you guys till now, and other couple of cases is what we want to put out over here, where resume scanning and smart shortlisting, which I mentioned earlier. There are other places also which we can put out, improvise it, where in one of my previous webinars I had mentioned about the facial recognition for attendance, rather than biometric, or rather than putting up a login in the system. Just a walk-in into the office can read the data of the employee, and it can punch the attendance for the system, into the system, and based on that, the HR can take in attendance into consideration. And then the HR chatbots, if at all the employee needs some assistance, or they want to put out some grievances, they need not write an email keeping up everyone in the loop, and then it becomes a big scenario altogether. Rather, there can be quick chatbots which can immediately contact the HR, and they can quickly share their needs and concerns, and that can be addressed. And then there are AI tools which now gives, in fact many organizations have this, where it will track and it will also monitor the employees, where what are their activities mainly into, which websites are they looking at least during the work time, only during the work times, and within their office laptops. It's not that they are going to get into your personal feeds and stuff, but with respect to when you're working, which tools are you looking at, how well is your work organized, how well do you work, what is your pattern. Based on that, they figure out how well you're organized, and what are your plans for the next couple of months or next couple of years with this organization, with this work. So that's called predictive insights. So again, some statistics where 76% of HR leaders say that these kind of AI tools will help them, and this is going to be the critical aspect in the next couple of years. So, as I said, the question again, are you guys having the access for these smart AI tools, or the smart systems which are in place already in the world? So that's when the big question comes, why pragmatic then? So we don't just digitize the HR, we humanize it with intelligence. As Minu rightly mentioned, she is the key person over here. As a HR, bringing up many AI solutions and many automated solutions into Odoo, addressing the HR problems, starting from hiring to firing. In the next webinar, we'll come up with many other aspects with respect to the statutory things, how payroll can be automated more, how the advances, or it could be employee advances, employee reimbursements, how the statutory laws are put out, the TDS, the lot of things. It can be for temporary employees or interns or permanent employees, how well it can be taken care of. The lot of funds will be there, insurances will be there, how well all these aspects are brought in place into the system again. So with this again, why pragmatic is basically because we are in this industry since 16 years, with a lot of experience, almost 1.5 decade of experience with Odoo and ERP, and we have so far completed more than 2,500 small to large projects, with 160 plus apps available in the marketplace, giving solutions to multiple industries, not just with the HR. And then we have multiple Odoo certified experts, and our footprint is across the globe. We have, with various apps and various solutions, we have touched each and every corner of the globe. That's something to boast for ourselves. And we have industry experiences, and combine that with Odoo expertise. We want to solve the problems in the world, that is basically in the industry, in all across the different industries. It could be hotel management, or it could be with respect to accounting, it could be with respect to HR, or it could be with respect to manufacturing and trading. So That's the end of the webinar. So we'll be again taking up the HR topics in the next webinar, but in a different way. We have so far seen about onboarding, training, and all the other aspects. Now we'll be seeing more about accounting and the statutory aspects as well. So if anybody has a question, please do reach out. I and Minu will be available for the next couple of minutes for your questions. Thank you, guys. Thank you for listening.
Okay, great. So that was a fantastic webinar. Firstly, thank you, Yashas. Thank you, Meenu. And definitely, this was more than just a conversation about people. It was really about building workplaces where Mondays don't feel like a chore, and new hires don't feel like that they are not welcome from day one. And HR just doesn't become a department; it definitely becomes the heartbeat of the company. So special shout out to Meenu. Thank you so much for kicking things off with those really real relatable challenges, which anybody who is working in the HR would definitely be feeling the same. And to Yashas for showing us that how these right tools can actually bring ease, structure, and the spark back into the HR department. So thank you, guys.